session. Uh, Hello, guys who are watching us online on Facebook and YouTube. This is Norman Aziz. I welcome all of you in our live session. And today we have a special guest. I'm following her personally on LinkedIn. And when I published that, we're going to have a live session with Dr. Natalia, so many people they commented on the LinkedIn post. They personally messaged me that, that's wonderful because we are following this lady personally and they're learning a lot. So then it's a pleasure, it's an honor to have you in our live session. And Natalia is a personal branding guru, keynote speaker, and she's member of Forbes Coaches Council, LinkedIn trainer, and instructor. So, hi Natalia, how's it going?
Thank you so much for this beautiful introduction, Numan. I'm very, very well. It has been an amazing weekend with a lot of birthday celebrations of my friends. I was working on a keynote speech. I had enough time to work out, good food, enough sleep. So, yeah, life is good. What about you?
Yeah, pretty fine. Enjoying my weekend in Germany. You know, the weather in Germany sometimes it gets a little bit tricky. So today it was a little bit cloudy, but sun is, playing hide and seek, coming in and going out. So that's how it is. But yesterday we were in festival, in Germany, Oktoberfest is going on. So a lot of activities there are. I live in quite closer to Mannheim and in Ludwigshafen, if you know the area. Yesterday we had a food truck festival, so we had been there and we got a chance to see many different types of foods in the form of food trucks. So,
Sounds
anyways, moving
awesome.
forward, uh, before we get into the topic, and I would ask you some questions regarding personal branding, which is our main topic of today. I would request you if you could just give us a brief introduction about yourself, your work, and in your words.
Sure. So, as you said, I'm a personal branding strategist. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a bilingual keynote speaker because I originally come from Hanover. I live in Dubai since 2008, I think. So, yeah, my focus is really on the question, how can I help people to market themselves in an impressive in a way that is not salesy or boastful, because I want people to stand out. I want people to get more opportunities in their private lives and business lives. I want them to get more money. I want them to express themselves. I want them to get free public relations. I want them to generate more leads, whatever their targets are. And I realized that a lot of people are raised in a way that, their environment says, don't talk about yourself. If you're great, everybody will know. You do not need to let people know about your skills and expertise. Let your results do the work. To some extent, that is a good idea, thinking about modesty, but then we also need to learn how to introduce ourselves. We need to learn how to network. We need to learn how to tell our story. And I think that this is something that is massively missing in the societies or in the communities that I work with. So I realized I want to do that. I want to help become people, I want to help people become better personal brands, more impressive personal brands in order to reach their targets, no matter what the targets are.
Why personal branding has become so important in this age of digitization and social media. I mean, people have been getting jobs, people were doing business since ages. So, why there's a need of personal branding today?
I think, as you said, that today's world is really, how can I say that, saturated with status updates, and we're busy and things are hectic, and there are 10,000 bits of information that we're confronted with. So, and nowadays, there are also more people who are educated and qualified.
Hmm.
So the competition for, let's say, highly skilled jobs is higher than it used to be. So if you have more people applying for specific jobs, or if you have more service providers offering similar products or services, then you need to find ways how to stand out of the masses. You need to explain to people why me and not the other person. So that is one aspect of it. But another aspect also is that we change the way how we behave when it comes to getting to know new people. I don't know about you, but 99% either on a date or before they interview somebody for a job interview, they do a quick Google search. And you have a problem in two cases. Number one, if I do not find any information about you, because I mean, hey, we live in 2019, it's like, are you a psychopath? Do you just live a boring life? Like, why don't I find information about you? Or the second scenario is, and it's equally a problem, if I see pictures of you or content that could really be used against you or that downgrade to a personal brand. So, in the end, a personal branding strategy, a specific image or perception of you that will help you, again, being seen in a specific way, and this will then help you reach in your target. So instead of allowing other people to dictate who you are and what you are and whatever, use personal branding as a self-leadership tool, as a strategic instrument, as a communications tool, in order to be there and to be perceived in the way that you want.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a very important point, and it happens with us very often. For example, when I was working in hiring and I receive a profile, the first thing I used to do, I checked on LinkedIn that what is the profile of that person, what is the social influence that person has created, what he's talking about his field, are I mean, to what extent he is socializing with the people working in a similar industry. I'm not sure about many other recruiters, but in my point of view, that is pretty common in South Asian markets, where LinkedIn is quite famous. It's pretty famous in Middle Eastern market, and it's pretty it has become a trend in American markets as well. That recruiters, they go on LinkedIn and they try to check out what is the social input or what is the digital profile of this specific candidate. Now the question comes, it is a lot easier for extroverts to create a brand because, by personality, they are habitual of doing or they're habitual of networking with other people. It's easy for them to create a video content about their skills. It's easier for them to, connect with other people. How about introverts? What are your suggestions for introvert who are actually naturally not built for all these things? How can they train themselves to brand them personally on digital platforms, let's say LinkedIn?
Sure. So I think when it comes to the extrovert introvert topic, I started to read a little bit more about it because a lot of my clients, they approach me and say, "Oh, Natalia, I'm an introvert." And I said, "Well, I'm not sure if we use the word introvert, extrovert in a scientifically correct way." So I just read about one book which was full of different studies, and it says that the difference between an extrovert and an introvert is that differs in order to feel alive and in order to feel recharged. So, from the tendency, an extrovert is somebody who loves the stage, who loves to go out and say, "Look at me, I want to entertain you." And these people will also go out and socialize in order to get their energy. While an introvert, from the tendency, is somebody who prefers to stay in the background and also needs a lot of me time in order to recharge, so a lot of space. So this is my understanding of extrovert and introvert. So what can an introvert do in order to also create content, in order to be a personal brand that is seen? Figure out what kind of content works for you. You do not need to jump in front of the camera, wear a pink wig, and dance and sing in front of the camera, especially when that's not your character. Nobody forces you to do that. But figure out what kind of content you are convenient with. Maybe you like to write poems, so why don't you post a poem? Maybe you draw in a beautiful way. Why don't you draw something? Maybe you're an incredibly good writer. Then write something. Just create content in a way that is convenient for you. And I just mentioned in my LinkedIn Live that I had a few seconds before that, if the actual act of creating is still a little bit overwhelming for you, do something that Gary Vaynerchuk suggests. So instead of creating, go back into documentation mode. So document your journey. Show me what you're working on. Show me what you're interested in. Show me where you work, how you work. Show me what your values are. So instead of creating something, go back into work with what you have, be resourceful. And from there on, you can then grow and become a little bit more courageous day by day, post by post, but you need to start somewhere because, I mean, what's the alternative? That you just stand in the corner and it's like, oh, I'm sorry for being in life, everybody else will get the better job. It's like, that's not a way to live. Think about the opportunities and jump over that shadow, and maybe also gift yourself with something. Reward yourself when you have done something that drained you out of energy and that was totally out of your comfort zone. So get that pair of shoes, get that iPhone, get that full body massage, get that, I don't know, 5 course meal or whatever it is that rewards you, that celebrates you, and that wires in your brain, oh, when I do that, I get this, so I'm going to do more of it.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because most of the introvert people, they keep on living in their comfort zone, and they do not cross the line, to get into the zone where they could represent themselves and make their profiles visible on different social media platforms. And now I have a question. I know millions of people who are on LinkedIn, but they're not using these kind of digital platforms effectively because they're enjoying their jobs. So far, they have not seen or they have not become jobless where they felt a need that they might need something different as compared to a conventional CV. So, what do you think that the time is coming when we have to be more competitive? Or we can just live in our comfort zone for the next 10 years, nothing would happen. uh, or there would be kind of a compulsion for the people that they have to do something different. What they have been doing in the past, it is outdated now, and now there's a time to do something different.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of person you are. Not everybody wants to grow in his or her career. Not everybody is a top achiever, and not everybody has personal growth and money and status as their highest values. So, if these are your values, then it makes sense to start working on your personal brand and in being more active. In the end, it's like this. When you have a nice LinkedIn profile that really explains who you are and what you do and for whom you do that and what your expertise is, when you strategically network, so that means when you reach out with people, when you create content, you automatically get more visibility, and you never know where that can lead to. If you look into studies that focus on the job search and on the job market, it says that the majority of jobs out there are not vacant in the sense that there's a vacancy and you can apply for it. A lot of these jobs were actually created once a person met a specific person and said, "You're so awesome, I want you in my company for you," that just allows you to be in your element. Are you in? So, keeping that in mind, it makes sense to always show the world who you are and what you do and what you're the expert in. Because based on that, so many more opportunities, new friends, mentors, new strategic collaboration and partnership could result from that. So I think in the near future, people who will make it in life and business need to be proactive and be visible, go out there and not just lean back and pray and hope for miracles or for changes to happen. That's part one, but you also need to take action.
Yeah, pretty fine. I think the time is coming when people have to come out of their comfort zone and they have to, get their hands dirty on these kind of digital platforms, and they have to learn these skills. Otherwise, they'll be out of the market because according to LinkedIn and some other digital platforms, they mentioned that one of the skills that might be required in the future is learnability. How fast you learn different technologies, how fast you modify yourself, and how fast you adapt with your environment. So, this would be one of the skills that may be required in the future. So, people have to prepare for these skills in advance. As you mentioned, the job seekers, so now it's one of the active group on LinkedIn because they are all over, and some people, they are complaining that HR is not shortlisting our CV, HR is not providing us feedback, HR people are the laziest people on planet earth. But they do not look into their profiles, that what is missing. And somehow, I mean, the first thing we have to do is evaluate ourselves, look into ourselves, that what is missing, and then blaming others. So most of the profiles that I see, they, if they have content, the content lack quality. If the content is quality, then it's not backed by similar kind of experiences or products or something like that. So what do you suggest to job seekers to maximize their job hunting skills or job search by using the concept of personal branding?
Like as you said, I think it all starts with your profile. You need to have a clear profile which exactly tells me what your expertise is there, what your cultural background is, how many languages you speak, what your passion is, but so that I get an idea of who you are in a business context, but also as an individual. Because nobody wants to work with the perfectly qualified person if he or she is just language and whole. So this is important. So first of all, get your personal, like get your profile right. Then when you create content, as you said, it needs to have to offer. So if you are applying for a marketing or social media job, it doesn't make sense at all to talk about motivation, inspiration, technology, or God. Like, I would not talk about God anyway. That's like politics, God, drugs, sex, and religion. Just don't talk about it on social media. And trust me, you will live safer like that. So make sure that when you create content, create it around your expertise. See it as a way of like this is part of your digital online CV or digital footprint and gives me a little bit of a piece of work, what I can expect when I work with you. So this is important. And then also, as you said, stop blaming people because blaming is just victim habit, and actively also reach out to potential recruiters, to people working in HR, to people who have job titles as you have, who work in companies in which you would like to work. Because through that, more people will see your content. Hopefully, more people will engage with your content. And if you then also go into a strategy where you actively comment below the posts of people who are influencers in that industry, or again somebody who works in a company where you want to work at, you will show people, hey, I'm there, look at me, I'm here to add value, I think I can really contribute. So these are new and different ways how you can stand out. And again, instead of just being passive and hoping for the best, you actually make sure that you create relevant content, that you're seen, that you network, collaborate, comment, and take it from there.
One of my LinkedIn connections, she asked me, she's actually from Poland, and she asked me a question that she's working in LinkedIn, she's working in banking industry from last 10 years. And she got a huge experience in banking industry, but now she feels like that she has to change industry, and it's a bit difficult and tricky if you have a decade of experience in one industry and you would like to go into manufacturing or you would like to go into telecom industry, then people judge you based on your previous experience, and 99% you do not get shortlisted for a new position. So what kind of tricks and techniques such people could use in personal branding which could help them from moving from one industry to the other one?
Well, I think it also we also need to have a look at, are you moving the industry, but are you staying in the same, let's say, field of activity? So did you work in sales in banking and now you want to work in sales in telecommunications? So I think that's a difference when you compare that to, I worked in sales in banking and now I want to work in HR in computer science. So, these are totally different scenarios. So I think if it's the first case, it is definitely easier. And in the end, it's all about storytelling. You need to tell people, for example, oh, I worked for 10 years in a bank and I realized that I'm sort of tired. Like, don't get me wrong, thank you for this experience. It was fantastic, but I'm ready for something new. And I realized that over the years, in my free time, I was always looking and reading and participating. So come up with these stories or with these examples that prove that you have enough knowledge of that industry, that you have worked on, how do you call it, autodidactic, so on your own, that you've done that in your free time. And in the end, I mean, you can always learn about an industry. That's not the problem. What is important is that you really have the character and the skills in order to implement that in your new job. So if you have that challenge, work with a career coach or with somebody who works in recruiting for a very long time, who also then tells you how to tell that story and how to connect with people. Because I'm not the expert in really helping people, to move from one industry in the other, but there are people out there who focus on exactly that. So approach such a coach or such a strategist and build a strategy together. Again, tell the right story, and then nobody will be able to say anything against that.
I've seen a couple of videos on your LinkedIn profile. Sometimes if you get live on a time when I'm free, so I watch your content. And in those videos, you were talking about that people are complaining. Yeah, I'm posting regularly on LinkedIn, but nobody likes my comment. I'm posting videos, but people do not watch those videos. So I mean, you're not being able to create your viewership. You're not being able to create your audience that people would come and see your content. Sometimes I personally feel maybe I would like to learn this point from you, because you also mentioned something about LinkedIn algorithms and artificial intelligence, which is basically working on behind of these platforms. In my personal opinion, people post shit and shit gets hit. Not everybody, but some people, they have huge number of followers, and when I try to check in their content, it's just like, general content. It's just a picture, it's just a YouTube video coming from someone, and that they get million of viewers, but there's nothing, out of this content that you could learn. So then, a lot of people, they get demotivated that, I cannot do what this guy is doing or what this lady is doing. So how can, I prove myself in this world of social media or digitalization and personal branding?
Sure. I mean, first of all, we need to understand that a lot of likes and comments and shares is fantastic for the ego and for maybe their own self confidence, but you cannot pay your bills with that. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, I don't know about you, but when I go to the petrol station or to a supermarket, I don't show my Instagram link and says, hey, I had 1,500 likes. Do I get these eggs and this bread for free? That's not how it works. So we need to understand that likes and comments are fantastic, but you also need to find a way how to convert these fans or these engagement into leads, and then to get these leads and then close them, or to convince people to work with you, right? To make money off that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that a lot of people, once they create content and they put in a lot of energy and time into it, they somewhat fall into an entitlement trap that they think, well, I've I've wasted or I've invested so much energy, so now I want these likes and comments. So why don't I get them? Well, there could be a couple of reasons. Reason number one could be that you're posting at a time when nobody's online. Reason number two could be that your copy is bad. So your copywriting, which means like the way how you write, is not engaging. It's not emotional. It's not taking me on a journey. So I just don't resonate with it. When you post on social media, it needs to trigger emotions. It needs to tell stories. It needs to place hooks in order to engage with people. Another factor could be that what you post is not relevant. Your audience doesn't want to hear about it. And that's a very important factor, because it's not you who decides if your content is good and relevant, it is your audience. So it is important that you create a social network, like followers, a community, however you want to call that, that is relevant for you, that has similar targets, hopes, ideas, maybe works in a similar industry, that is somehow connected to you and what you want to do. So this is why when I see some people who have in a profile, oh, I have 25,000 connections, and I'm like, yeah, so what? Once again, that doesn't help you. Like, maybe the first impression is like, wow, this guy has 25,000 connections. But when you don't know how to use them, when what you post, they're not interested in it, forget about it. So go back to the drawing board, understand who's my target audience, connect with the right people, create content that helps these individuals, regularly ask them, what is it that you would like to hear? And then create more of that. And if that still doesn't work, then what you can do, and this is the last tip related to that question, make sure that within the first hour when your post is online, that a handful of people comment and like below it, because that's the way how social media algorithms work. Mm-hmm. When you post something, it's not that your whole network is going to see that. The algorithm only pushes your post to a small test group, and in the first hour, the algorithm tests, is that content good or not? And it gets an answer based on the amounts of likes and comments. So if you reach a specific number, then this is a symbol or a signal to the algorithm to say, okay, cool. So I'm going to distribute that post to a bigger audience. So more people see it. When they like and comment, again, more people will see it. Really make sure that within the first 60 minutes, some of your friends, colleagues, strategic collaboration partners, etc., like and comment below your post.
How important is the factor of truthfulness in personal branding? Because sometimes there is a borderline between branding and over branding. I have seen some people on LinkedIn. I mean, they are quite they have huge number of followers. They are in a way in the list of influencers, but somehow, personally, I think they overbrand themselves because what they have done and what they are trying to teach, there's a huge difference. For example, when we see people like you, we see a profile in the background that you have worked on this, you are a coach, you are a keynote speaker, then you have a huge background of a theoretical base, and now you are trying to present or you're trying to promote people, and you're trying to promote your content in the form of videos or articles. So there's kind of a research that you have done personally. But some people, they are just copy pasting the content. You posted a video, you talked about, let's say, personal branding. Someone else just gave the same message by tweaking the words or by paraphrasing your message, and try to come up with a content which is actually your content. So they try to portray themselves which they are not. So I consider such kind of people, they are trying to overbrand themselves. And somehow, if the HR people or the audience is, intelligent enough, they can quickly catch up this person. Okay, I mean, the background or there is no backup what he or she is talking about. So, what do you think about the people who overbrand themselves and how it can backfire? And to what extent
I
should we be truthful?
Sure. So I think the magic word here is authenticity. And I know that a lot of people think that authentic is overused. And what does it actually mean? If you don't like the word authentic, then use your true self, your real self, the person that you are at the party, the person that you are related to your friends and family. So this is the concept that I'm speaking about. Yes, you can get inspired by other people, and that's fantastic. If you use other people's thoughts, it might be a good idea to quote them if you use the same language, or if it is a strategy. And you learn something from that individual. It would be also nice if you would say, I've learned that from so and so, thinking about intellectual property. But let's not get down that road, and let's answer your question. As you said, it will backfire sooner or later if you're trying to pretend to be somebody that you are not. Because once I meet you in real life, I will be ridiculously disappointed. So you will not get the job anyway. You will not get that project anyway. And the easiest way to see if a person really is that person that he or she pretends to be is to see if they post any video content. And through video content, you will see in the body language, in the way how somebody speaks, in the way how somebody moves, how they truly are. So a lot of these wannabe influencers, they just, as you said, copy and paste content from other individuals, but they never create any video. So yes, they might have a lot of likes and they might have a lot of comments and whatever, but what's the target? Like, why are they doing that? Are they doing that because they don't respect themselves, because they have low self-esteem, because they need that daily dopamine hit in order to be loved, seen, and appreciated? Well, if that's the case, then with all my respect, I would highly recommend working with a therapist, psychologist, or coach, because this is not very healthy. Let me put it that way. And I don't mean to be mean. I say this from the deepest corner of my heart, because I think the way how social media is designed, it has a very addictive tone, but we need to learn to distance ourselves from that. So what do we learn? Give your best to express your own thoughts, to polish your own, or design or develop your own style, because we all have a style, we all have a personal brand, and the magic lies in returning to that core, to that true self, to that authenticity, to that real person that we were, When we were a kid, before people said, don't do that and do this, and I only love you when, and if you truly love me, you, and if you continue doing like that, then I. So if you peel all that off, if you have the onion and we strip all of that off, and we have that beautiful, authentic core in the middle, if you could take that and create content out of this voice, out of this innocence, out of this compassion, out of this joy, out of this empathy, this is when people will fall in love with you. This is when people will do business with you. And this is, for example, why people follow people like Gary Vaynerchuk or Oprah Winfrey or Tony Robbins or whatever. Yes, these people are all great at marketing, but these people went through a ridiculous amount of self-work. They learned how to cry, they learned how to forgive, and they are in the business for the last 10, 20, 30 years. So again, don't fake it or don't fake what you are not. Rather, tell the authentic story of where you are and where you want to be, and your future self and your personal brand will thank you for that.
Yeah, and if you don't have those skills, just acquire those skills and then present. If you want
Yeah.
to follow Dr. Natalia, she's talking about personal branding. You don't have any work done before about personal branding, so do it, learn it the hard way, get hands-on experience, and then talk about the content. And then you can say, okay, yes, I have done this project, or I have written this article, I have written this book, this is my research. That's why I'm talking about this concept. So then it will make more sense that you have something, you have a proof, you have a background that why you are doing this, because you have a background knowledge about this specific topic. I would like to share one incident because when I was in London School of Economics, we were studying leadership over there. And in that specific course, the lady who was actually teaching us, who were teaching our this course, she was working in British Telecom, and she was director for many many years. She got retired, and then she came to London School of Economics, and he started teaching over there. And she told us that she gave us an example, which is basically kind of peak of over branding. They wanted to hire a managing director in one of the subsidiary, and the guy they shortlisted a profile, and on that profile the guy mentioned that I have attended so many board meetings, I have experience in presenting company numbers in front of board of directors, in front of stakeholders and all that, and the CV was really really solid. So somehow that person got hired based on the profile that he shared with the company. But the company realized within a time span of 3 to 4 months that he's lying about his profile. The kind of work that he's presenting or doing, it is not closer to what he has mentioned on his CV. So that's how I mean he got fired after 3 to 4 months. So that's what I was talking about. Similar happens with the personal branding. For example, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I am publishing so many articles, I'm sharing content, and when I go for an interview, you get impressed by my profile, you call me for an interview, and then I don't qualify that interview. It means that I was trying to overbrand myself, or I didn't work out before getting into the domain of personal branding. So, anyways,
Yeah.
last but not the least,
Or
I
it
think.
wasn't like, maybe it just didn't, like, it wasn't a match. Like, maybe you're perfect on paper, but you don't have the mindset, or you don't have the character, or you
Yeah.
maybe wouldn't fit into the company culture. I think what you said, what is very important, is that you need to have social proof and experiences for what you have. You cannot call yourself a LinkedIn maven or guru because you've published 3 articles and you got 30 comments. I mean, that's not how it works. So, I mean, I always encourage people to build a personal brand around their expertise. Don't create your personal brand out of thin air. That's not going to work. That's not sustainable, and that will get you nowhere. So it all goes back to understand what your skills are, what your experience is, and master your knowledge and expertise and skills, because this is what will get you the job, what will get you the clients. If you don't have that, forget personal branding. Focus on sharpening your skills, because this is what you need in order to make money and to not only live but also to survive. So focus on that first, instead of going out there and shouting, look at me, I'm the best, what I've achieved. I think that's important.
So I think we just have 5 minutes left in our session. So I would like to ask you last but not the least question. And this question is coming from some students. When we compare students studying in European universities as compared to US and Middle Eastern universities, So I feel like that the people who are working in Middle East and US, they are very active on social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. But when I see students from European universities, some of them they're not having even LinkedIn profiles.
Mhm.
So what do you suggest? I mean, take the example of India. India is growing, China is growing, market is expanding, and they are getting businesses, and their students they are going all over the world, and they are getting absorbed in the job market. Number one, there are too many. It depends on the population size as well. But what I personally feel that in Europe, students are not very much familiar with these kind of social media platforms, that they do not believe in the power of LinkedIn. Let's say.
Interesting observation. I wasn't aware of this. So, I mean, my PhD thesis questions are focuses on the question: what can we do to get academic millennials faster into the job market without writing CVs? And I realized that there are three factors that can have a big impact on the transition period. So it can shorten the transition period, and it can even make sure that you land a better paid job and a more adequate job, which means more adequate related to what you've learned. Factor number one, you get real life experience. So while you're studying, make sure that you have internship. Make sure that you go out there and understand work life, especially when you're academia. Don't stay in your theoretical construct, but also know what it means to work in a team, not in a theory book, but be there. Understand the conflicts, understand the ego, understand the pride, understand how you need to deal with people. And the best way to do that is, again, either an intern job or maybe a part-time job while you are working, while you're studying. So that's the first factor that you need to work on. The second factor is that you need to network, because once again, a lot of jobs, you that we get aware of it through people that we know, or we like, the wider our social network is, the more information we also get about potential vacancies. Or when you say that you're looking for a job, maybe you know somebody who knows somebody who, whose father has this company or whatever. So this is how it works. So also strategically expand your social network. And the third factor is personal branding, in the sense that learn how to move, learn how to talk, learn how to dress, learn how to present, learn how to use PowerPoint, learn how to negotiate. So also improve your skills, your soft skills, and the way how you approach people. And of course, also work on your online CV. It's all interconnected. So this is the recommendation that I would share with any kind of students and academic millennials.
And some of the students whom I know, they are on LinkedIn, but they are not engaging. They are not engaging with the content. They are not publishing something from their work. They are not posting anything. So if you are on LinkedIn or other social media platforms just like an observer, then you will be an observer. So then they have to cross that borderline, and they have to engage with other people's content. They have to appreciate if someone is posting good content, and if they are expert in one specific field, then they should share that knowledge with other people.
Absolutely. And LinkedIn also has a fantastic program in not all over, but in some countries, and I know it's available in India, and it's definitely also available in the US. They call it LinkedIn Campus Editor, I think. So it's a one-year
Okay.
program that will give you access to a premium option of LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and you will commit to publish content on a regular basis. And LinkedIn will promise you to push that content to a wider audience. So you can already build that thought leader, that student thought leader personal brand around you. It will force you to create content. You will get more visibility. You will build these connections. And through that, when you do it right, and again, LinkedIn will guide you, ideally, you will have a handful of jobs or business opportunities that you can choose from once you're actually done with your studies.
And then, in Europe especially, we have Zing as well. I didn't know about Zing. When I came to Germany, that was the first time I created my profile on Zing, because I was working in Middle East for the last 7 years, from 2010 till 2017. So in those 7 years, I never heard about Zing. But when I came to Germany, I got to know from my colleagues, oh, Zing is also kind of a platform, where you get to know different recruiters, you get to know companies, you get to know similar kind of professionals, you can connect with them, you can collaborate with them, you can share your content, and then you can create a bigger network. So I think students, they have to embrace these concepts now because it's the right time. Otherwise, once they will get into the industry, then it would be a little bit later. So, sooner is always better. So if they will create their profiles, they will engage with the content creators, they will engage with the companies, then it gonna definitely help them to grab good opportunities in terms of internships, good career opportunities, because they will already be having knowledge about the industry and the companies before they land into the job market.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think we are running out of time. It's a wonderful, wonderful discussion with you. I learned a lot, and I regularly watch your content, which is quite quality content in terms of learning things about personal branding, learning things about personal marketing. So I would suggest all my listeners to follow your LinkedIn profile to have first-hand information coming from your side. And thank you very much for getting time out of your busy schedule and ensuring your presence in our live session. So many people, they've watched our session on Facebook. I'm sure they must be posting some questions or they must be asking some more questions at a later stage. Then I will get connect with you on via LinkedIn. I will
Sure.
message you, and maybe if there would be so many questions, then we're gonna have a second session too,
Sounds
if
good.
time will
Sounds great.
permit us.
Thanks.
Again, thank you very much, and I would request all our listeners and viewers to share the video with the people who are actually in need for these advices and suggestions, so that they could build their strong profile on social media platform, because there's a need, it's coming, and that's a requirement of the digital world. So, Natalia, thank you very much. Before leaving, one last suggestion from your side for the people who are struggling to create their personal brand. Just one last quick suggestion.
I mean, see it as a thought leadership tool, as a communications tool, and understand that if you don't actively work on your personal brand, then other people will dictate it. Other people will say who you are, what you stand for, etc. And that could be totally wrong. So instead of being a victim or instead of being the end result,